Hey everyone, I'm Lewis Thompson, and right now we're going to talk about my process on how I write songs and produce records. So I'm going to talk about the process of how I write songs. I've been doing this for about 10, 12 years now. I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. So this is kind of the process that works for me. So when I first started going in sessions, like 10 years ago, I basically used to take in fully produced, sometimes fully mixed records and say to a top liner or a writer I was working with, just write something on this, and I'd kind of get involved. But I found that after about 7 years of doing that, to not very much success, I kind of realised that it was quite limiting, like bringing up an entire production in with a lot of like effects in and drums in. And sometimes I feel like when you're working with creatives, you actually just need to give them something simple that they can write to and that they've got a lot of creative freedom to write on. So yeah, after kind of 7 years of not really having too much success doing that, I switched up my process and I kind of started this sort of like song starters approach, where I basically make my own kind of like sample pack or little vibes that I can bring into sessions, quickly play to someone, see if they're into it, and then kind of start writing a vocal to. The big thing that I've learned is that the song should always come first, and that the production that you make should make the song better and support the song. And the way I was doing it before was kind of the reverse of that. So this way, I think, has led me to get much better results. So the way I do this is like, basically, I'll pick out 1 or 2 days a week and I will sit around and I will just completely mess around, make random sounds, and I try to be super non-judgmental about what I'm making. And a lot of it is crap, to be honest. A lot of what I make isn't good and isn't going to get used. But there might, in that 1 or 2 days, I might come up with 1 or 2 bits that I can bring into sessions and write to. So this is what I use, and I use I've got a big folder full of ideas. As you can see, I've spent a lot of time messing around. And some of them end up turning into songs. So I've got songs and little starters in here, which were kind of the seed of a song that ended up being released. So there's this, for example, which I'm not even going to say the song, but maybe people will recognise it. So that ended up being a song that's out. And I'm not going to go through all of them because there's a few bits. And what I also find with having this approach is, if I've got stuff sitting on my computer, what I can rely on to kind of get the vibe going in the session, it takes so much pressure off your shoulders, because I find that being a producer is a little bit like, there's some parallels to being a DJ as well, where you've kind of got to play records that are going to get people dancing. And I think it's similar when you're producing and you're producing in a session. It's up to you to play something that's going to be inspiring to get people going. And when you've got these little nuggets on here, it makes the process so much easier. And weirdly, I find that because I've not got that pressure of having to write something inspiring and get on the piano and write something there and then, I actually write better stuff when I do just write on the fly, because there's not this anxiety around, oh my God, I've got to come up with something exciting. So here's an example of a track starter that I've got. It's just 4 layers. I would play this in a session, see if people like it. If they don't, quickly move on. So it's like 1 layer, some really simple chords, really basic, to be honest. Some nice chords, then I added a bass and a little bit of atmosphere. And then I did actually add some drums on this. I quite often don't add drums, but I did, just to get the vibes going. So that's kind of way like more than enough that you need to kind of at least write a chorus, and then from there you can build that into a full song. I think it's so much easier rather than playing a fully produced thing. So from here, I would obviously play that. If they like it, hopefully they do, then we will work together on turning it into a song. So I'll just play it, and then normally creatives are pretty creative people will just start singing, or creative writers will just start singing or humming a melody, and then as soon as they start doing that, if it's good, you're off, and you kind of like, that's really good. And I think a lot of what your job then is kind of supporting people and guiding people to take the song where you want it to go. I think the good thing is with having these song starters sitting there, you can kind of figure out what sort of vibe would work good on them over time. And when you play it to somebody, I think it's your job to guide the team and the people in the room to where you want it to go. So yeah, that's that.